That's a great question. How did I get into sound healing? Well, I was asking a question because I was looking at humanity, and as a singer, that's how I started. I was really into music, and I'd see people come together and they'd groove on the dance floor and they'd celebrate, and everyone would be in this party zone, and there would be this connection and feeling of happiness, and I was really feeling that sound is powerful, music's powerful, and it has a non-verbal language that touches people's hearts, and it reaches, it helps people calm down and deal with, let go of their stress from every day that they may experience that. And I thought, well, if sound is really powerful, is there maybe one sound or a series of sounds we can give to the body that directly transmits divine information, if you like, and it strips out all the places in which we're disconnected? Because if you look at humanity as a whole, we're either disconnected from our own bodies and we don't eat the right food, or we're disconnected from our loving nature, we're really stressed out and we're up in our heads, or we feel disconnected from the earth, so we're not very grounded, and so we're not very focused in our lives. And also, that inability to be in our loving natures also disconnects us from each other. But ultimately, it's on that deeper level of disconnection from God, and you can call it creator, whatever you want. Just ultimately feeling, people carry that low level. They may never talk about it in their lives, but that suffering thought of, I'm disconnected in some way, and we're all running different religions on the planet, and blah, blah, blah. So I just thought, there must be something we can do that actually strips out all the programmings, all the disease, all the imbalance, all the suffering, all the stress, all the anxiety, all of it. And it was funny because I was recording an album in Australia, and I was 2/3 way through the album, and it was using musical keys to tune in with the different organs. My intention was to create an album that would be unifying for the individual listening, and therefore if they're more unified, then they'd be more connected to the earth and hopefully make better decisions, because they'd be feeling more in tune, and they'd be feeling themselves, hearing themselves, and making better choices. So what was interesting was, I'm 2/3 way through doing this album, and I get this dream at 4 a.m, and I'm not the kind of person that wakes up, I sleep all the way through. And the dream was basically saying, and it had me get up and write it down, and it was a very strong dream, and the dream was basically saying, it's all about Ra. It was showing me a long line of humanity being forced at gunpoint. Actually, it's probably good to talk about it, and everyone being forced up into this machine, and as they had this blast of energy put down through their body from the crown to the feet, at the point it hit the feet, it's like the light went out of their eyes. It's like the soul disconnected from the body, and they just became a zombie. And you can see that in a lot of humanity. And anyway, it came to my turn because I'm in the line, and I'm going, okay, wow, this is going to be interesting. But at the point I stepped up into the machine, and it's quite an analogy if you think about the technology we surround ourselves with, and also the Wi-Fi, cordless phones, all that impact to the body.
Is it like an airport scanner type machine?
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, but it was more like the blasting energy down through the body. But yeah, maybe the scanner works like that. I certainly don't. I always go for the personal search, I don't go through those machines. But yeah, at the point the energy was coming through my body, out of my mouth came this really high-pitched, which is actually very close to Ra, but it's Japanese for heart. And it wasn't so much about the frequency, but it was more about love. It's like we're all living in this fear-based society, and a place of stress and challenge and disease and imbalance. And what was amazing was that one frequency, the reality that you had these grey, sunken-faced military bods in their uniforms, that whole reality, just like a radio channel, just tuned out. It was gone. And I'm suddenly sitting with this huge circle of humanity who felt like all the light workers on the planet, or all the healers, or all the people who've been working for the shift, who've been, you know, speaking to people about get in your body, dance, heal your body, find alternative ways, get back to nature, all of that. And it was a huge circle of people, and there was this woman there, and she was vocalizing the circle, and she said, "Congratulations, everyone, we made it." And in that dream, I felt like I saw the shift, and it wasn't that it was all about me, because it wasn't. You know, it was about all of us. We'd created this. And she then turns to me and she says, "Well done, Eeshi-Ra." She said, "But it's not you that's written in the Akashic records, it's Ra." And at the time, I'm like, well, Ra, okay, Egyptian sun god. This is a long time ago, it's 2001. But then 2 weeks later, I returned to San Francisco, where I was doing Earth Dance with Chris Decker. And I had, within 2 weeks, I had met my mentor who got me into the frequencies. So, and you know, basically what the body is Ra maths. It's based on pi and phi. You're speaking to the bones, the DNA, the brain, all of the chemical structure. Basically sending a rebalancing signal. I call them system software. It's like, wow, you know, who would we be if we reboot our system and you strip out all the programming, all the disconnects, everything that is a challenge for us as a species. And I got so excited because I was like, wow, we suddenly have a tool that we can actually use. And what is beautiful about sound, out of all the things that we could use to help ourselves, is that it bypasses this. So even when the mind's going, you know, oh, I'm not really sure about that, when the body actually has an experience of oneness and it goes, wow, you know, just like Slavko had, you know, earlier with putting a tuning fork on his spine, you know, the mind lets go because the body's actually going, wow, that actually feels amazing. So I'm just really passionate about it because I can see that it helps people, and it's an instant thing. You know, as long as they can just let the mind go and just drop into that place of inner connection, then I feel like, you know, I look around and it's like we really have to do something as a species. We have to be living differently for us to survive. And I think sound is a big key for that, but the right sound, because there are a lot of sound healers using frequencies like the piano scale, you know, and that's not really tuning our body to something that's based in nature, you know. So yeah, I think it's an amazing thing, and I'm really excited to continue working with it, and you know, certainly taking the frequencies into the body as well. You can create miracles like scar tissue healing in 48 hours, nerve damage the same.
It's the smiling procedure, something that you developed or learned from someone?
When Jody's talking about the smiling thing, we're talking about when I'm using the tuning forks, I'm smiling, and people watching this might wonder why I'm smiling. It's something I developed because I realized that when I'm touching the tuning fork, I'm a transmitter, and anything that's going on in my body, in my consciousness, it affects the end result. So if my mind's off somewhere and I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner, then you're not getting the benefit of my full attention. And so I have a focus of unifying. And then there are 3 aspects of that: unifying with divine self. So I tune into my divine self, my spiritual self, if you like. And so for me, that's in my heart. So I smile into my heart, connect with that. So as I'm holding that intention for you, because I then become that, it transmits, you know. And then it's unifying with Gaia, and I put my energy into my feet. So I drop all my energy into my feet, and I send my attention out. And then unifying with Source or God, or, you know, some people don't like the word God, but the divine, you know, and then I expand my consciousness all the way out. And that's a repetition with all the vibrational pairs, so that, yeah, otherwise, you know, if I'm thinking about dinner, it just doesn't really doesn't cut it. Yeah.
What's the difference between sound healing and sound medicine, and who makes the decision? Is that what it was? Who defines what is? Is there a difference
between sound medicine and sound healing?
Yeah, or is it just semantics?
I think that's a really interesting question, because medicine if we look at medicine, I would say if a doctor were taking the Hippocratic Oath, medicine would be healing. But we live in a world where we are using things that aren't necessarily actually healing at the root. They're just managing symptoms. If you take a lot of medication or a lot of surgery, it can be dangerous. It can actually be fatal in some cases. So I think that for now, I would say that sound healing works, but sound medicine, I suppose if we're looking at sound medicine and not medicine by itself, sound medicine is actually already used in hospitals. A lot of people don't realise that, you've got things like lithotripsy, which is using frequency for getting rid of kidney stones, or UV light, which is just a higher form of sound for psoriasis, or Pete Townsend from The Who, in 1983, he got off heroin using one of the frequencies that I work with, because it produces endorphins in the body. Maybe I haven't answered the question quite right, but sound medicine, sound healing. If we strip out medicine from the story, then I would say they are similar. I suppose they're the same in one sense, but sound medicine, another term for that would be psychoacoustics or electroherbalism, and there are a lot of people who are working with curing cancer, for example, using frequency. Royal Raymond Dwight in the 1930s, he invented that. And maybe that would be put more in the realm of sound medicine. There are some sound healers who call their sound journey sound medicine, but I suppose it really depends on the definition of the word and who I'm talking to and who thinks what, who defines what. Yeah.
What is, in a nutshell, sound healing?
What is sound healing? It's the use of frequency to achieve a harmonious state, and that's through a process of resonance and entrainment, where if you've got a hectic piece of tissue over here and you've got something which is actually in balance here, and you have a frequency put in the middle, and that slowly through a process of entrainment, the dominant vibration, the one that is harmonious, because the universe always likes to work efficiently and harmoniously, that hectic piece of tissue will have entrained and come into resonance with the harmony. And it's a beautiful way of working because it can be instant. If we talk about healing bones, for example, or most people, if you talk about if you lost a limb, most people would say, well, that's it, and you're looking at an amputation and you're looking at a fake limb or prosthetic. But if I said to you, you could actually grow back another limb, most people go, no, they've already done it. The Russians have done it. And they're working with the frequencies I work with. I would like to see someone...
Even like the whole hand?
Yeah, the whole limb. With rats, they've done it with rats. Yeah. What was the question again?
I'm like that. No, I've not had an interview. Someone texts me, I'm like, oh, no, I'll go off somewhere.
I know, I'm very good at that.
What?
Yeah.